Well, it is the eve of the 49ers' biggest game of the year so far, and they hope that these become incrementally bigger with each passing week. And they hope that all of these will be at home at Levi's Stadium. It's also Brock Purdy's birthday. Turns 26 today, so we can no longer say 25-year-old quarterback Brock Purdy. We can say 26. And I chuckle because some people have been trying to say it's Brock Purdy's prime. Like, oh, the last 5 games that he's played have been so impressive. This is his prime. Well, the male athletic prime is typically 28 or 29. And I think for quarterbacks, since it's such a highly skilled job, I would argue that if those guys stay healthy beyond 28 or 29, their prime probably not until their 30s. So Brock Purdy's not in his prime yet. He's 26 years old. This just shows how much meat there still is left on the bone for the young 49ers quarterback. And, well, we can talk a lot about how Brock Purdy would very likely be the MVP favorite this season if he had not suffered a turf toe injury in week 1, a week where he beat the Seattle Seahawks dramatically on that turf toe injury. Happened late in the first half. He obviously was knocked out of the next 2 games, tried to come back against Jacksonville, a very good Jacksonville team in week 4, wasn't fully healthy yet. It compromised his performance. 49ers shut him down until week 11 against the Arizona Cardinals. And ever since then, Brock Purdy has been on a tear. The efficiency stats are the ones that you have to lean even more heavily into here because he has missed the time this year to accumulate the passing yardage and the touchdown counts that you could have for a apples to apples comparison with the other MVP leaders. So you look at per snap efficiency to see where Brock Purdy would be if he had been healthy for the whole season. And it is a very, very impressive story. I can show a lot of these, but this is the one that came out yesterday. This is EPA, expected points added per play in obvious passing situations. So obvious passing situations are a certain down and distance. So third down and long, second down and long, not first down. First down is never an obvious passing situation. How do quarterbacks do in the spots where the scheme is not going to be able to carry them because it can't really disguise run or pass? And the x-axis is where you want to be further to the right. The y-axis is sack rate in obvious passing situations, who's taking the fewest sacks in those spots. Looks like Bo Nix has successfully avoided sacks by throwing short a lot. Bo Nix has really been a low air yards guy this year, but Purdy is way up here in the upper right. That is just the beginning of the extremely impressive statistical story that we've seen from Brock Purdy this year. He leads the league in QBR. He leads the league in expected points added per play, which is what he's led ever since 2022, since he's entered the league. The arguments right now seem to, they're always circular. And it's really funny because everything is coming back to the initial argument saying, well, the sample size isn't big enough, as if the turf toe injury this year discounts what Purdy did in 2022, 2023, and even 2024, where he finished number 7 in QBR. But he was number 1 in QBR in 2023, number 7 in 2024, back to number 1 this year. So if you need a larger sample, just go back to the previous seasons where Purdy was at the top of the league and you have the larger sample. So the arguments now trying to discredit Brock Purdy have done a full 360. They've just gone in a big circle. They're back to the very start with people talking about sample size, trying to ignore what Purdy has done in the seasons before. So I have a feeling that we're going to be playing this really stupid game indefinitely, that the goalposts will just continue moving. They've moved for 3 years, but I'm not having it anymore. John Lynch isn't having it anymore. John Lynch was on that NBC Sports Bay Area interview. He said, you're seeing a guy playing with great conviction, getting back to his drop, going through his progressions. If there's a tight window, let it go. And when you play with conviction, without hesitation, on time, you could get it in those tight windows without putting the ball in peril. I think Brock's doing a really good job with that. Plus, the other added element that he gives of being able to extend plays, and he's always done that. But I think we're seeing him extend plays and make a lot of plays down the field while extending. So it just adds an element that's really tough to stop. And, Brock's just, I think he's playing at a high level, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. That ultimately is what sets Purdy apart from, I would say, any quarterback in the NFL. That's why he's at the very top right now of all these rankings, because he is avoiding sacks at a higher level than anyone else. Like, nobody is as good in pressure to sack ratio as Brock Purdy. And on top of avoiding the sacks, he is creating opportunities downfield while he's doing that. It's not like he's just spinning out of the sack, running around aimlessly, and then tossing the ball up, and it's not productive at all. Every single spin away from a sack seems to be a creation of separation downfield for the 49ers. They have the most efficient offense in football ever since Purdy returned to the lineup in week 11, despite having one of the lower separation scores of any team in football. And they measure that with the GPS chips in the shoulders of the receivers. The 49ers ranked number 25 at the time of catch or incompletion. It's a stat that I brought up a lot as an issue for the 49ers last year. Purdy, I thought, decently overcame it last year, but he didn't have McCaffrey last year, so the offense was like number 9, number 10. The defense fell off a cliff, so it really wasn't the offense's fault if you want to look at a blame of specific units in 2024 that they went 6-11. The offense was the only above average unit of the team last year. The defense was terrible. The special teams was the worst in the league. This year, the special teams has improved to number 1, and the offense since week 11 has been number 1 as well for the 49ers. We got the team tier chart, which we've got to put up on the screen here. Let's get this up there. Let's see where the 49ers have been over the course of time since Brock Purdy's return. Here we go. Boom. Up on the screen right here. See, the offense is on the x-axis. This is all split since Purdy came back. So this is where the 49ers offense is. That's where the Rams are and by the way, this is filtering out garbage time. So I took some of the win probabilities, and if the win probability was under 20% or over 80%, I was pretty aggressive with the garbage time just to see who's performing the best when the game is actually on the line. 49ers have surpassed the Rams offensively. The Packers have actually been playing good offense. Jordan Love obviously got hurt against the Bears last week. 49ers have been above average defense. That's one area, though, that definitely would, I think, concern anyone, because they haven't played the best offenses over the course of weeks 11 to 17. And I think that's going to get more difficult, probably even starting this week. The Bears haven't been great offensively, but Caleb Williams probably brings a little something extra to the table that you haven't seen in recent weeks. And obviously the Bears can run the football. That is going to strain the 49ers. So can they keep this at the spot that it's at on the y-axis? Maybe not. Maybe they drop down to Green Bay territory. The Packers have lost Micah Parsons. The defense isn't playing great. But even if that happens, if the offense continues playing at an extremely high level with Purdy, then the 49ers are one of the top teams in the league, especially with the special teams boost that they can get from Brant Boyer's unit. We've got so much more to show as we talk about Brock Purdy and his 26th birthday. Mike and I were talking about it the other day, the escapability that he has shown over the course of his first 3+ seasons in the league has, it's evolved into second to none status. I mean, the pressure to sack ratio doesn't lie. He's getting away from sacks at a better clip than any other quarterback in the NFL. So it's getting only better. And I think there's a lot of escapability. Like there's physical twitchiness that is at play here that surprises people. Fred Warner talked about this on a podcast over the course of the past few days, that Purdy legitimately surprises defenders out on the field because of how twitchy he is. Like he has a burst that's measured by the 10-yard split in that 40-yard dash that we've talked about for years at this point. I'll share the story again in 2022 when Purdy was first coming onto the scene. I walked up to him at his locker and I saw the 10-yard split. I saw his tape. I knew that there was something special there as far as his escapability, because that's immediately what he brought beyond Jimmy Garoppolo to the 49ers quarterback position. And I said, hey, is this right? Do you have a 1-5-5 or whatever it was, 10-yard split? Dre Greenlaw was Purdy's locker neighbor at the time. And he almost fell out of his chair hearing Brock's 10-yard split time. And, you know, players understand the correlation between a certain 10-yard split time and a certain 40-yard dash time. Typically, if you run a 1-5-10, your 40 is going to be 4-5 or better. And for Dre, he's like, you should be running a 4-4 based on that 10-yard split time. It was really funny. Like he was awestruck by the fact that Purdy was that quick out of the gate, and he knew that Purdy didn't run a 4-4. But that's one of the great paradoxes involving this quarterback, is that whatever happens beyond 10 yards obviously slows down quite a bit, but whatever happens within those 10 yards, he is one of the quickest in the entire game. Physically, at 26, he's probably only going to get quicker. If he works on the right things, that burst should only get better for the next couple of years. Might it decline after 28, 29? Maybe. I don't think it will substantially decline if he stays in good shape and if he continues working out into his 30s. But what might actually improve for Brock Purdy as the years pass is the experience, right? So he's going to know where blitzes are coming from. He's going to see more and more looks. I mean, this is a quarterback that's still relatively young. That's why we emphasized that today on his birthday. He's going to develop the encyclopedia in his head, the kind of the Rolodex of the different defensive looks that could come his way. And, you know, by the time that maybe physically he starts losing some of the burst that we're talking about, he'll be a step ahead mentally. So he'll be able to get going quicker and get out of the pocket or step up or make whatever movement he needs to, just based on that prior knowledge. An athlete's prime doesn't come until, especially in football at the quarterback position, an athlete's prime does not come until the mental and the physical peaks intersect. Like, where's the highest point of both of those going to be? Like, where can you get the most efficiency when you combine both the physical and the cerebral game? And I could say that Brock Purdy, he's started 43 regular season games. He has started 6 playoff games. So he's going to be starting game number 50 this weekend on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. That is not a whole heck of a lot of starts. For comparison, Steve Young reached start 50. I'm adding it up right now. Steve Young started 5 games in Tampa in 85, 14 in Tampa in 86. So he had 19 starts when he came to the 49ers. And then he did not start more than 3 games in a season until 1991. So I'm going to add this up really fast. That's 10 plus 19. That is 29. Steve Young did not get to his 50th start for the 49ers until 1993 when he was 32 years old. That also happened to be right after he won his first MVP. So Steve Young was rounding into his prolific dual threat form as both a passer and a runner right around right now when it came to his development as an NFL quarterback, like when it came to his trajectory. He was 32 years old, though, so it happened later for Steve Young. He was 26, the age that Brock Purdy is now, back in 1987 when he was first traded from Tampa Bay to the 49ers. Just goes to show you that there are different age tracks here, and the 49ers are on a really good one with Purdy because they've gotten to 50 starts. They will get to 50 starts on Sunday night at age 26. So there still is a lot of physical runway here. Steve Young at 32 probably wasn't as twitchy as he was at 26 when he first joined the 49ers, but he was playing his best football because cerebrally he had gotten to see what you see when you have 50 starts, and that's why he was able to win the MVP award. Brock Purdy has now gotten to see about that much football, but he still is going to have more physical runway to get even faster, to get even stronger, because he's only 26 years old. So I just a little bit of perspective for you as far as age goes, which I think is really, really important, because that's what the 49ers have Purdy under contract through basically age 30, 31 at this point with a long deal that he signed. So they're going to have him through his physical prime. And what Kyle Shanahan and his staff have to do is continue ushering him in through his cerebral development so that physical prime matches with a cerebral ascent, and he could be even more than an MVP caliber player. I mean, he's an MVP caliber player already. Efficiency says everything in this case. You could look at it here. This is in 2025, and we could go and lay out the situation beyond 2025, going into 2022 and his rookie year, so you have the larger sample. But if Purdy were healthy all year, he would absolutely be an MVP candidate, and I think he would be the MVP leader. He's the most efficient quarterback per snap. He's doing it without a top wide receiver available consistently, at least. I mean, no Brandon Ayuk, and if you're going to consider Ricky Pearsall top wide receiver, and I think maybe you could if you excluded the injuries, but he hadn't been healthy for more than half the season. So Purdy's been doing this without a true, legitimate, consistent presence at the X receiver spot. He's doing this despite the fact that the 49ers have the number 25 separation score. They don't have a great defense. They obviously have the special teams this year, which has helped the 49ers cause, but it is not a 2023-like setup where the 49ers have a lot of weapons at every single position, where they're gaining above average separation, where the offense was primed to break greatest show on turf numbers. Purdy has had to be the driver of this offense. I mean, not to mention the fact that this run game has ranked lower than the 49ers pass game here in 2025. And despite having to be the locomotive pulling the train, this is something that people said would trip Brock Purdy up if he ever got into this situation. He is ranked at the very top of the league in terms of efficiency. Only Drake May ahead in terms of completion percentage over expectation. But the more important stat here is going to be on the y-axis anyway, and that is the EPA per play. What is he generating in terms of expected points every single time that he drops back to pass? So at 26, Purdy is doing this. And the craziest part about everything is that, it hadn't really changed at all over the course of his entire NFL career. If we zoom the sample out to 2022, this is where Purdy has been. Very top right. I mean, an even more commanding lead if you include all of the snaps, all of the dropbacks since 2022. Ian Rappaport reports that Fred Warner is ahead of schedule following ankle surgery, and a return for the NFC title game and beyond is possible. San Francisco just needs to get there. Yeah, we reported the same thing yesterday. NFC title game would seem about right. I think that underscores the importance of notching the number one seed for the 49ers, which they can do with home wins in the next two games. If you beat the Chicago Bears and then you beat the Seattle Seahawks, you don't have to play in the wild card round. And then you would be one game away from the possible Fred Warner return if we're going to put the championship game date on that. And that would also be at home, right? The divisional round would be at home. The NFC championship game would be at home. I think it'd be really cool if Fred could come back for the NFC title game versus the Super Bowl, because, even though the Super Bowl's at home, it will be a much more partisan crowd at the championship game. The Super Bowl is often a corporate crowd. People will come in from all over the country. They may not necessarily be 49ers fans. I'm sure there'll still be a lot of 49ers fans at the Super Bowl itself, but it's more about the NFC Championship game if you want that true partisan, rowdy home environment. And I think if Fred Warner comes back for the NFC Championship game at home, that place will be louder than it has ever been. I will literally step outside from the press box to hear the volume of that crowd. So I'm not behind the glass of the press box when Fred Warner is introduced, if the 49ers get to that point and if he does come back. But this has been something that's been brewing behind the scenes. I don't think it's been all too hidden over the course of the past few weeks. We've seen Fred Warner get into the ice water up at Lake Tahoe with its healing properties. We've seen him in the hyperbaric chamber on what looks to be a daily basis. We've seen, I think, a report of 6 hours of rehab per day for Fred Warner. And I think he's not, I know that he's not rehabbing 6 hours a day in order to return in week 1 of 2026. I think Fred Warner has designs on being back this season, and the NFC title game sounds like a good time to return. But the 49ers need to win. They're 3 home wins in a row away from Fred Warner being back, assuming that he continues on the same recovery track that he's on right now. When you put it that way, it is absolutely wild. I mean, the way that this season has blossomed, it's crazy. You can't script this stuff. I don't know if you would want to script this stuff because it's better entertainment this way. And, speaking of Brock Purdy's birthday and gifts, I don't know what Brock Purdy got for his birthday, but he got his offensive lineman a gift. This is from Matt Hennessy. Put it up on Instagram. And Mac Jones, by the way, gave the 49ers offensive lineman the really nice T-shirts. I could put those up on the screen in a bit, but he also gave him nice espresso machines. But Purdy went with the Rolex, the engraved Rolex watches. Really, really good stuff here. Let's find the rest of this from Matt Hennessy. I got it for you guys. Get the initial ones up on the screen, but now we could find the engraved picture. Here it is. So that's Hennessy's. And then the Mac Jones gift was quality stuff as well. Espresso machine plus a T-shirt that I think that Mac should put up for sale. I mean, it's not just Brock Purdy who's having an awesome season, especially considering the fact that he's putting up the numbers that he's putting up that are at the very top of the league this year. On top of that, he's doing it on turf toe. I don't think he's fully 100%. So you want to talk about physical prime? Well, Purdy will be in more of a physical prime when he has an entire offseason to recover from turf toe, but he's still moving fine, still driving the ball fine, and he and Mac Jones are one of the best combinations that we've seen in a quarterback room since Montana and Young. I mean, they're both in the top 4 of success rate this season, which, they didn't measure success rate back when Montana and Young were both with the 49ers. I wish they did so we could see that. It's not like in 1988, they split a lot of time, but it was generally one quarterback or the other. And then there was a big controversy because of what we saw in 1988 with Steve Young running over the Vikings and all this and all that. Montana took over the job full time in 89, but it would have been fun to see those splits in 1988 because the 49ers had 2 really good quarterbacks. And it's the setup that they have this season with both Purdy and Mac Jones ranking in the top 4. Here it is. This is success rate, which is the percentage of plays generating a positive EPA, expected points added. Purdy at number 1, Jones at number 4. So the 49ers have unquestionably the best quarterback room in the NFL. I think it's really important to just sit back and appreciate what Mac Jones was able to do over about a half season sample, over about an 8-game sample. I mean, to deliver what he did, and you could see it here, like top 5 success rate. it wasn't an explosive offense when Mac was in there. And, that's not what the 49ers needed. Maybe they needed the opposite too. I argued that over the course of that entire 8-game stretch. I said they just need to hog the ball because this defense, especially when they lost Fred Warner in week 6, this defense needed as much help as it could get. And by help, I meant stay on the sideline. So as long as they could generate consistently positive outcomes, play in, play out at a high level, they could keep the defense on the sideline and they could control games. And Mac, remember, Mac was dealing with the same run game limitations as Brock Purdy. So it was not easy for Mac Jones to register a 53% success rate, which is really good. Like anything above 50% is considered good. You could see on here that Drake May, 52.6%, Josh Allen at the bottom there is at 52%, Stafford at 54.3%, which is excellent. Darnold also about 54%. Purdy has been otherworldly at 55.7%, but for Jones to register 53 when the 49ers needed it, that was one of the clutch performances of the season for San Francisco. So on Brock Purdy's birthday, I think it's very, very important to salute Mac Jones, who's been awesome this year. Mac is only a year older than Brock, not even a year, or just about a year actually. He turned 27 on September 5th. Brock turned 26, so a year and 3 months. Not too far apart in age. And that's another thing that's made the 49ers quarterback room a good vibe this year. Curtis Rourke, Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, Adrian Martinez, all those guys fairly close together in age. By the way, Curtis Rourke, his practice window is going to expire on Monday, 21 days after it opened. We were over in Cabo in Mexico. I remember when it opened. It seems like that was just yesterday, but time goes quickly. He's 25. He's on the slightly older end of the spectrum for a rookie. And I talked to Curtis in the locker room yesterday, and he said that he got a lot out of the practice window this year. The 49ers were never planning to activate him. They won't activate him. They just wanted to redshirt him this year. He's coming off of a torn ACL. It was good to get back onto the football field, play some football again. He did that. He did it at the highest level that he's done it as far as competition goes, an NFL practice field. I know he played at Indiana last year and played on a torn ACL. Well, now he got to play with a bunch of NFL guys in an NFL scheme. 49ers got their first look at Curtis, and they can move forward into the offseason. Maybe they trade Mac Jones. Maybe they don't, but they know that they have an option in Curtis Rourke, who's going to retake the practice field this spring and potentially be the QB2 for San Francisco moving forward into the future. So that's just the update on Curtis. He was shooting hoops in the locker room yesterday. Had a quick chance to chat with him. That 21-day window is going to end on Monday. He has put in his final practice for the 49ers this season. Will revert back to the NFI, the non-football injury list, where he doesn't count against the roster for the rest of this season. He'll continue to be in meetings, and the 49ers do have Adrian Martinez back now after he was gone for about a week to the New York Jets practice squad. He's back, so he's going to be the third quarterback for San Francisco in their practices moving forward for the rest of the season. Couple NFL games today, the Texans and the Chargers. That's a really good one. I'm looking forward to watching that. Ravens and the Packers. Both games aren't terrible, but that first one is really, really good. First one starts at 1:30 Pacific. Second one starts at 5 o'clock Pacific. So Houston and LA, that's DeMeco Ryans and Jim Harbaugh. The Texans are 10-5. The Chargers are 11-4. So there's going to be a little bit of a battle there at the top of the AFC. I know that we've been following the NFC picture so closely. The NFC picture is rather simple. If the 49ers win out, they will be the number 1 seed, and the entire field, except for the NFC South winner, is determined. In the AFC, it looks like this. Denver is currently in the driver's seat at 13-3. New England can win the pull into 13-3 this weekend. Let me see who the New England Patriots play this weekend. The Pats are playing the Jets, so the Patriots will likely also be 13-3 after this weekend. The Jags, a game behind those teams in the loss column at 11-4. Jacksonville, I think, has been one of the best teams in football over the course of the past several weeks that we've seen in the team tier chart. They're playing at Indianapolis against Phillip Rivers and the Colts. And then the Chargers, they have the same record as Jacksonville. The Chargers, though, unfortunately, they are behind Denver in the AFC West. So the Chargers would have to go on the road in the playoffs. As of today, would be to Pittsburgh if they cannot pass Denver, who keeps on winning a lot of these one-score games. So we will continue watching as 2 weeks remain, and the Chargers are ready to play the Denver Broncos. Who plays in the last week of the season? Let me see. Week 18. Chargers Broncos. Awesome. Well, that sets up a fantastic finish. I'm excited for that. That could determine the AFC West. So the NFC West and the AFC West might be determined on the last week of the year. Cool. All right. I'm going to answer some questions. We're going to go through some more numbers. We can have a lot of fun with this. I mean, if we want to talk about Purdy numbers, there is always something really, really compelling and really good to go to. I mean, if you want the ultimate Brock Purdy statistic this year, then you got to go to this one, how he's performed on third down. I mean, it's been epic. This is the same EPA chart except third and fourth downs, and it's the entire league with Brock Purdy in the very upper right corner. Now, this is going to take everything to account. This takes takeaways, or defensive takeaways, quarterback giveaways into account. Even the negative plays, even if you consider where he hasn't delivered, and it hasn't been often, he is head and shoulders above the rest of the league. And this is the quarterback's down. It's so much more important to look at this stuff than raw yardage or just like touchdown to interception ratio, because this is looking at every play, and this is looking at it in the context of down and distance, which is so important. I mean, nobody cares about an 8-yard gain on 3rd and 12. People care about 13-yard gains on 3rd and 12. And that's what EPA isolated for 3rd and 4th downs is going to measure. And that's where Purdy has been so good for the 49ers this year. I am ready for those questions. We're going to go into I'm back. I think you guys have me. Yeah, we're here. I think you can see me now, Mike. I don't know. The window closed on me. I think the internet went out for a second. I was afraid we had a power outage, but the light was still working. That was that. So I think I'm going to be able to answer some of the questions now. We're back. Yes, we are back. Questions are welcome. I appreciate this. Trey James, 9694. That's awesome. Thank you for the note. Thank you for the super chat. Glad to have you as a viewer here for a long time. Will Kittle play? We might find out today. Probably not until tomorrow. But George is probably going to give the 49ers a good indication today. I'm really not sure. I think that the short week probably makes it tough. So if I had to put a probability on it, I would say under 50%, but I'm not going to rule it out. One thing that's really important is that Kittle is able to deliver at a high level if he does play. And that's what he's going to let the 49ers know. He's going to say, hey, if my ankle is not letting me plant and cut and move with the suddenness that I need to move, then I'm not going to go out there. And Jake Tonjes can do my job better than me. George needs to make that determination. The 49ers staff needs to make that determination and have conviction behind it. And I think that they may be able to make it today. Maybe it does get pushed back all the way until tomorrow. Maybe there's some uncertainty today, but that has to be the driving force behind San Francisco's decision. You have to be functional at the highest efficiency level possible at that tight end position. And Tonjes has been playing good football for the 49ers if the 49ers do need to go in that direction. I do think that Pearsall plays. Kittle, I think the probability is lower. I do think that Kittle, if he doesn't play this week, will be in the lineup against Seattle next week. And remember, the 49ers need to win both of these games in order to reach the playoffs as the number 1 seed. So you have to play it strategically as smart as possible. You don't think that Christian McCaffrey is going to get 1,000 receiving yards? He's 149 short. Now, if George Kittle is not available in this game, then I think it probably increases Christian McCaffrey's receiving load. Not like chasing individual accomplishments is the most important thing going for the 49ers here. I understand that Christian has fallen slightly off pace over the course of the past 2 or 3 games, but all that it will take is one explosive catch. Like if he gets 130 or 40-yard catch and all of a sudden he's going to be back on pace. He's 149 yards short of 1,000 receiving yards. And if he does get 1,000 receiving yards, he'll become the first player in NFL history to go 1,000 in his career twice. How big of a problem is Ben Johnson? I think Ben is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I have a lot of respect for Ben Johnson. I think there are 2 data points that you could look at that really underscore how valuable Ben Johnson is. One, he left the Detroit Lions and they cratered from a 1 seed caliber team down to maybe a team that finishes under 500. They're 8-8 right now, but it's basically it was a fringe playoff team that got knocked out of contention by the Vikings on Christmas Day that might finish with a losing record. And I think that the main piece that the Detroit Lions lost was Ben Johnson. Aaron Glenn, too, on the defensive side, but it was the offense that was driving that team last season. And now he's with the Bears, and look at the Bears. They're surging. They're 11-4. This is the best the Bears have been in a long time. They did also lose Aaron Glenn, but that defense wasn't very good for the Lions last year. I mean, they lost Aiden Hutchinson. They had a ton of defensive injuries, and it was the defense that couldn't stop anybody by the end of the season. Who's the Bears' defensive coordinator? Dennis Allen. He's been around the league for a long time. He's a very multiple defensive coordinator. He's somebody who he's been around for such a long time that he's going to run a lot. It's not just, when Robert Saleh was first in the league in 2017 as a defensive coordinator, he ran the 4-3 cover 3, his bread and butter. He was a new defensive coordinator. He ran what he was most comfortable with. As time has gone on, Robert Saleh has added more and more to his repertoire. So the 49ers defense is a lot more complex than the initial 2017-2018 49ers defense. Dennis Allen has been around the league for a long time, which means that he could throw you a bunch of different looks, which means he can generate a lot of takeaways because he could confuse quarterbacks. The Bears have 21 interceptions and 31 takeaways on this season. The Bears generate takeaways at a higher rate than anyone else. The corners have very good ball skills for Chicago. Obviously, Jalen Johnson out of Fresno, shout out to Central High School, is a top-tier player for the Bears. That's a guy who could catch the football better than a lot of receivers. I mean, you watched one of the interceptions that he had. They were playing, I think they were playing the Browns and Shedeur Sanders a couple weeks ago. One of the picks that he had was like, how did he grab that football? I mean, it was a pretty well thrown ball. It kind of glanced off the receiver, and all of a sudden Jalen Johnson came away with it. I mean, he's a sticky, sticky corner with really good ball skills. For any team to have 20 plus picks, they've got to catch the ball. The 49ers in recent years, when they led the league in interceptions, were catching potential chances. And I think that the Chicago Bears this year, if you put the ball in harm's way, there's a really, really good chance they're going to come down with it. So Dennis Allen has given this team good footing, good solid platform to generate those takeaways. And you've got to give the corners credit for executing them. Yes, there is an update on Fred Warner. NFC Championship game. That's when you can expect Fred to potentially be back for San Francisco. Can Nick Martin return at all this year? Theoretically, yes. He's on injured reserve, but it's the concussion protocol. He's got to improve with his concussion symptoms, and then the 49ers would have to activate him, and I'm not really sure if they're going to be in the mood to activate a rookie raw linebacker for playoff games. I mean, maybe if they need him as a body later in the year, but I mean, you're already trying to activate Fred Warner if you can make it to the NFC Championship game if you're the 49ers. So now it's turned into a win it for Fred kind of situation. If you can continue winning, Fred, I don't know if it's probably, maybe, but there's definitely a possibility Fred Warner could be back for as soon as that NFC Championship game. Then the 49ers also have Eric Kendricks. Don't forget about him. Eric is a vet, and I think he could really bridge a gap for San Francisco in case Tatum Bethune is in and out of this lineup. He's coming off the ankle injury. Eric might even be able to play the Sam linebacker whenever San Francisco needs that. They didn't play much base defense against the Colts, and they still shut down the Colts run game. That was a great performance on the ground from San Francisco's defense. Brock Purdy's pressure to sack ratio has always been top 5. 2023 and 2024, he was still top 5 in pressure to sack ratio. He won number 1. He's improved to number 1 this year. He's had another worldly number. It was under 10% for a lot of this season, which is unheard of. So, and especially considering the fact he's been dealing with turf toe. One of the reasons that Brock Purdy got paid, though, one of the main arguments that he had bolstering his case and his game was his very, very good pressure to sack ratio. Have I had West Coast sourdough? Yeah, San Francisco sourdough. I'm not that far from the original sourdough factory here in San Francisco. Of course, I've had it. It's like the bread of the city, but they sell it everywhere. It's really good. It's not my favorite for sandwiches, though. I like Dutch Crunch a little bit better. This, I don't know what you're citing. Brock does not have an 89.5 QBR. Brock's QBR is like 79.0 or 78.5. There is no adjusted QBR. QBR is adjusted already. I think you're confusing quarterback rating with QBR. Those are two different things. QBR is a better stat than quarterback rating, and anything in the high 70s is excellent, top level in QBR, and Purdy leads the league with a number in that territory. I am waiting for some more good questions. Let's put some out there. No, I did not make a wager for the Super Bowl this year. I am not allowed to bet on this stuff. I mean, not monetarily at least, but if the 49ers do win the Super Bowl, then I'm sure that we'll do something special on the show. Oh, you're saying he had an 89.5 versus the Colts in one game. Okay. But there is no adjusted QBR. I think I put up adjusted EPA, and Purdy was number one. He still is number one in adjusted EPA. QBR is adjusted for everything already, which is why it's such a cool stat, because it puts everything under the hood of one stat. And yes, Purdy was at about a 90 QBR against the Indianapolis Colts, which is an insanely high number. He had a perfect score for a lot of that game. But adjusted EPA, I mean, I could find some of the stats. Mike, if you see an adjusted EPA stat from SF Data Niners, go ahead and show send that to me. I could put it up on the screen. But Purdy is he's number one across the board, right? The only thing that he's not number one in is completion percentage above expectation. He's number two there. But everything else, when we talk about efficiency, Purdy has been number one. Yeah, I mean, if you want, I guess this was, I didn't know this was a bet. It was a promise. I would swim to Alcatraz. We'd do a live stream, and I would show you the backside of the number 17 jersey if the 49ers won the Super Bowl. So maybe we got to dust off the 17 jersey again and put it up in the background, since this is starting to become serious. If the 49ers win on Sunday, they're 4 wins away from holding up the Lombardi Trophy, 4 wins away from holding me accountable for my end of season Super Bowl run promises. Here we go. This is Brock Purdy's entire career. I think this is worth putting up on his 26th birthday, because as you will see, there are essentially no bad games. Mike just sent this to me. I got to download it off the... He's got the composite quarterback rankings as well. Hold on. I got to save this in my downloads folder, and then I got to get it up on the screen for you guys. Here it is. Take a look at this. In Brock Purdy's career performance. I lost all of my screen sharing capabilities when I went dark there for a second, but here you go. This is Brock Purdy's career. Every single game. Green is good. Red is bad. And as you can see, he has hardly played that bad games. He's 26 years old. He's in his 4th NFL season, and he has hardly delivered below average performances. There was the game against the Ravens 2 years ago on Christmas Day. There were a couple poor games last year against the Bills and the Rams. And then there's been nothing bad this year. I mean, even the Jacksonville game and the Carolina game, the Jacksonville game being a turf toe game and the Carolina game being the 3 interceptions in the first half, he's come out above average in terms of expected points added per play. And that, to me, is... I mean, when you look at this, nobody has a higher performance floor than Brock Purdy has posted over the course of his 4-year career. And then nobody, by extension, has a higher performance ceiling than Brock Purdy has posted over the course of his career. You can see on this one, this is the composite adjusted statistics across the board. He's number one. And he's been number one now in 2 of the past 3 seasons. And he didn't drop lower than about number 7 in 2024 when everything crumbled around him. So, I mean, there should be no more debate. I mean, I could put up all of these in here. We could zoom in on Brock's name. You want to see him. He's at number 1 ahead of Love, Prescott, Stafford, and May. These are the stats that we're going through. The low bad throw percentage, which is really nice. You know, as a high bad throw percentage, Matthew Stafford. You can see it right here, 18.5%. That is, it's not good. That ranks number 32 in the NFL. That's why I say Stafford is always going to put the ball in danger. That is one thing that is weighing down his score. You just got to catch the interceptions that Matthew Stafford serves up for you on a platter. And it's something that Brock Purdy has generally avoided this year, even considering the 3 interception game that he had, the 3 interception half that he had against the Carolina Panthers. He has generally kept the football out of harm's way. He had that bad first half against the Panthers, but he bounced back from it. And over the large picture, he throws such a catchable football and such a clean football that it allows an offense that doesn't generate a whole lot of separation to churn at the highest level in the NFL, which is where the 49ers have been since week 11. So Brock Purdy at 26 has put up one hell of a resume. Let's get some more questions in here before I have to get going. No, I don't think that Dan Campbell is going to be fired this offseason. I think the Lions are going to give him at least another year, but he's going to need to find a way to replenish his coordinator pool, because losing Ben Johnson and losing Aaron Glenn, especially losing Ben Johnson, was really, really damaging for the Detroit Lions. Let's keep Tommy's dad in your prayers. He's in the hospital. Tommy's a frequent listener. Hope your dad does okay, Tommy. Just saw that little comment, so I'll put that up on the screen. And I've already given all the Kittle updates and the Ricky Pearsall updates and even the Fred Warner update. It's the NFC Championship game, so just wanted to do a nice little morning show here before we get some football today and then obviously some football tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We'll drop another update video coming later this afternoon. Thanks for watching. We will talk to you very soon.